We're back.
G'day, Dan.
G'day, Chris.
How are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
Yeah, good.
Hey, we're
How's your
back.
week been?
It's been really good. How about yours?
Yeah, not bad at all.
That's good. You've been listening to much music?
I've been listening to heaps of music.
What have you been listening to?
The new Mastodon songs.
Oh, I heard Tear. What was the new one?
Tea Drinker.
Tear Drinker.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah, it's good.
It's good, isn't
Pretty
it?
good to listen to.
Yeah, vocally. I got a feeling a Mastodon trying to sell some records.
I hope so.
Yeah, well, it just has it's a bit more polished sound.
Yeah. That song actually was, to me, a very ballady song for Mastodon.
Yeah, it just seemed like the lyrics were very clear. Yeah. Got away from the growl a little bit.
Yeah.
The guitars were not as heavy.
Yeah.
And I thought Mastodon trying to sell some records here, just going for that little bit of a more commercial
The first
sound.
song was pretty heavy.
Yeah, it was pretty heavy.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, are they all listening to Metallica's Black Album in the last?
We must learn from the masters.
We must learn, because I've been thinking about that a bit, and I've been thinking, wow, that album was it was so ahead of its time, because it was the metal album that made people go woo-ha.
Yeah, we can.
And no one ever really quite replicated it for length and song styles and everything like that.
Yep.
They almost have thought, I mean, everyone probably gets accused of jumping on the bandwagon, and
Yeah, probably.
and a lot of things were going on at that time. As boy, are we going to discuss today?
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the podcast,
The Music Bar.
and Music Bar Podcast. Thank you, Chris.
Okay.
On Twitter and on Instagram and on Facebook and on YouTube and on Apple and on Spotify and all the stuff. Thank you to our listeners.
Thank you to the people commenting.
Thank you to the people commenting. You've had some comments.
I've
Chris
had some
reads
good
the
comments.
comments. And thanks to the people listening. I was looking at some figures. America, Japan and India.
Yeah.
I am stoked.
Yeah.
We are stoked that we are reaching out. Let us know where you're from, and please drop us a line. musicbarpodcast@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
That's themusicbarpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know where you're listening from, and what I put a poll on the Spotify one for the last episode we did about the 500 greatest songs of all time. I have asked a Q&A. Do you think it's good? It's just a simple yes or no.
Yeah.
And the other one is, do you think that Aretha Franklin's Respect is the greatest song of all time? Yeah. I don't want you to tell me what you think it is, because I just don't want to. Everyone's got a different opinion.
Big argument.
Yeah, it's a big argument, and we'll go into that. We will go into it a little bit further. But what other comments have we had, Chris?
A few comments about Australian music.
Yes,
We had pretty good views on that.
that's been a real popular
Really good
one.
hit.
Yes,
People mentioning bands I've missed that we didn't talk about, and I'm like, we only had 40 minutes. We went to 50 minutes, and we can't mention everything.
let me tell you something. We literally just dropped the veritable stone in the lake and just the ripple out. Okay.
Yeah.
There's still more to go. We understand that, and we know there's people from overseas too want to know more about Australian music.
Yeah. So we will do more episodes on Australian music in the future, especially knowing that people want to hear it. So definitely, thanks for those comments on mention your Australian bands, and if we didn't mention it, let us know, and we'll do some research. We'll look into it, and if we probably listen to them ourselves. Talk about it a bit more.
I have heard most of them, believe me.
Yeah,
but,
I'm sure you have.
Yeah, okay, we can talk. Men at Work is a whole other story as well. There's so many we could have talked about.
Yeah. But at the end of the podcast, we kind of just mentioned a few just off the top of our head, like Choir Boys and Tism, just to get a few names in there, but we never mentioned Men at Work, which caused offence.
Yes.
That could be our national anthem.
I thought a lot about that episode too, and I kind of thought, I didn't want to be disparaging to the Australian metal scene. I felt I might have been like, we never had that metal band we never have. Australia never had that metal band. Carnival probably, but they're not a world-beating band in any way.
Their kind of music wouldn't appeal to most people.
Yeah, prog bands.
Very progressive.
Oh yeah, 27/4 Time and all that sort of stuff. I have listened to Goliath. Oh yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, but in saying that, there is a metal scene in Australia. Mm-hmm. It just we never got like our punk scene did, like our pop scene did, our dance music did. It was. There's still a metal scene, but for some reason the Australian metal scene just never was. We never produced that world-beating band. No. These guys are Ozzy and they're great, and we want to go and see them.
And I bet you people watching this now going, but what about AC/DC?
They're not technically a metal band.
No.
And they do not categorise themselves as a metal band. I know when you go into JB Hi-Fi, because that's the only record store left. They're under heavy metal.
Yeah.
Because you got to put it there.
Yep.
Yeah, but they're not. Same as Aerosmith are not a metal band.
No.
Even though they get dumped into it. So you had a great comment about one of the bands that you mentioned.
Which band was that?
Spice Girls.
I was told not to speak about Spice Girls ever again on this show.
And I'm saying we're going to do a whole episode on the Spice Girls because we got to look at, Brit pop if we have to.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I went to, like I said, if you watched the last podcast, you'll see it was I have no choice but to go. So I did, and I enjoyed it. So
look, we all,
that's what it was.
Yeah. I've never been to one of those shows yet.
Oh, really?
I've always been
Don't make deals with your partner.
That's exactly right.
Because in the end, you lose.
I just say, do you want to come to the show? And if she says, yay, I'll buy 2 tickets. If she says, no, I go, buy 1 ticket.
Yeah, it's just one of those things.
I've taken to a few shows, and I took her to Bruce Springsteen a couple of years ago. And that was, for a Bruce Springsteen fan, great. But she sat there and went, I don't know any of these songs.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, I did take Lexi in London. Again, same thing happened. I was going to go see Iron Maiden, and Avenged Sevenfold opened for them at Twickenham Stadium.
Avenged Sevenfold's a good opener for Iron Maiden.
I was going to go to that, and again, the person who was going to go with me cancelled at the last minute. So I got home, and I wasn't feeling the best, and I was actually in a bit of pain. So I said to Lex, you need to come with me, and she did.
Oh, cool.
So we ended up scalping my front row tickets for seating tickets.
Yep.
Just so I could sit down because I wasn't feeling the best, but she came and saw Iron Maiden and didn't know many songs, if any. But she did know the Avenged Sevenfold because that's when they were kind of on their...
They're on the rise up.
On the rise up, and we listened to them quite a lot. And she enjoyed it as far as I know. Probably wouldn't go see them again, but it's something to experience. So. Yeah. And seeing Iron Maiden at home ground advantage, Twickenham Stadium, it's pretty good.
I remember Henry Rollins saying that he had to support Iron Maiden. And I don't think he was an Iron Maiden fan.
Right.
I find it really odd. Henry Rollins is not an Iron Maiden fan, but mainly because he said their audience, he felt were just a bunch of dickheads. Because he's up there with his band, the Rollins band, and they're all in the front there going, F off,
Yeah, they wouldn't like him.
Yeah. No, he's too he's sort of had a foot in punk, but his songs could be quite metallic, very sludgy and very... They weren't the greatest band. I like Henry Rollins, but the Rollins band were not the greatest band.
No.
They had some good songs, but that's about it, really.
But today's subject...
Well, we're going back in time, Chris, so let's go.
I love going back in time.
Woo! That's terrible. 1991. Everyone's talking 1991, Chris.
They are talking 91.
Apart from the fact that it's 30 years ago, 2 of the biggest albums of the 90s are celebrating their 30th anniversaries. Yep. And I just wanted to say I looked at the ARIA vinyl charts today, and that Nirvana's Nevermind and Metallica's Black Album are in the top 10 vinyl in this country. Right now, right at this second. What year is this, Chris?
2021, 30 years later. It's amazing, isn't it? It's a vinyl.
Hey?
It's a vinyl, you're saying?
Yeah, I remember years ago when I was working in commercial radio, I remember it was the year Paul Kelly released a brand new album, the one with Firewood and Candles on it. It went to number 1. Midnight Oil had announced they were reforming and touring, and Daryl Braithwaite was playing the Falls Festival, because all of a sudden he's now hugely popular again. Yeah. And I was like, what year is this?
That's crazy.
What year is this? So it's about 91. Now, and another one's about to celebrate its 30th anniversary, which is, I don't like them, but I have to acknowledge, Blood Sugar Sex Magic, the Red Hot Chili Peppers album.
Yep.
The album that kind of launched them into the world, in which they became huge and never stopped.
Yeah, true.
They maintained their fan base and kept their fan base. And
off that album, they had 4 hits.
4 hits, singles.
Pretty big hits too, to be honest.
I know. But everyone's talking about, the big ones that everyone talks about are, of course, Nirvana, Metallica, Soundgarden's Bad Motor Finger, Guns N' Roses, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. And the other one is now I've just forgotten. But everyone's talking about those albums for this year. But I sent Chris on a research to look up the albums released in 91 because it wasn't just those albums, was it?
No, there was so many albums that came out that year.
And these are songs. A lot of the songs on these albums are still getting played on radio
now. That's why the other day in the podcast I was saying, driving the truck, I hear so many songs from the past. It's like I'm back in my teens and my early 20s. It's crazy.
It's crazy, yeah.
But yeah, Van Halen brought out their album FUCK for Unlawful Kind of Knowledge.
Yep.
That year.
Yep.
Skid Row brought out Slave to the Grind,
which was like, now Skid Row, they were always lumped in that hair metal band.
Yeah, true.
But I always felt there was too much New Jersey in those boys. There was, except for Sebastian Bach, who always wanted to be a rock and roll star. They said he drove everyone mad on the Sunset Strip, telling everyone he was going to become a big rock and roll star. And apparently they all were like, yeah, sure, whatever. And he ended up becoming.
And he was one of the greatest singers.
Oh, he's amazing.
A performer on stage. It's like watching a beanpole, you know.
Yeah,
he's so tall and skinny, but man, he could sing.
What a voice! Yeah. One of the all-time greats. But that album, Slave to the Grind, was such a heavy record, and it surprised because it didn't have that radio-friendly sound that the first album had. It didn't have the big ballad. It didn't.
I Remember You,
which is a great song. I love I Remember You.
And again, it was one of those songs. That album before that, with I Remember You, was the one that all the females liked, and because Sebastian Bach was a good-looking guy, everyone would go watch. And it brought the crowd, and then when they went and saw the new concert with this album, everyone's like, "This is really heavy." When they're playing,
when are they playing something like Nuggets? Yeah, no Slave.
Or 18 in Life.
So there we go. So we're talking about this is. I think you're looking at order of release too, or are you just going?
This is kind of order of release.
So this is telling you what was happening in the year 1991, and rock was the biggest thing. Rock music was the biggest thing. Yeah, it certainly was. Keep going.
We had Motorhead with 1916. We had Saxon with Solid Ball of Rock. One of my favourite bands, which wasn't rock, was REM, and they brought out their great album called Out of Time.
With Losing My Religion.
Losing My Religion. What a brilliant song that was. It's always been one of my favourite songs of theirs.
Still a brilliant song. And a brilliant video too. Remember the video was what captured people's attention. And it was... I was an REM fan for a long time before Out of Time came out. And I remember when you're Losing My Religion, it had the mandolin. There was no electric guitar on it. And Peter Buck was known for this jangly electric guitar sound that he had. Because REM could go between these light songs to really, not heavy, but really rocking out. They could really rock out. And then Out of Time came out, and even the band had no expectations. But that whole album, just...
Shiny Happy People?
The whole everything just sort of jumped out at people. My favourite REM song is on that album.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a single. It's the last song on the album called Me and Honey. Michael Stipe sings it with Kate Pearson from the B-52s. She already sung Shiny Happy People with them. Beautiful song. Just a beautiful, beautiful song.
They released an album too, B-52s that year too. I didn't write it down though.
Was it that one?
What it was called?
Cosmic Thing, I thought, had Love Shack, but that was 89. Did they release something after that?
They released something this year. I remember seeing it.
Well, they were both from Athens, Georgia. That's why there was that thing with REM. And to look at the B-52s, yes, they were a massive pop band. And Love Shack is one of the biggest selling singles of all time. They started as a weirdo alternative band. I mean, when Lock Lobster first came out, yes, it was a hit, but geez, that was weird.
It was very strange.
It still is a little strange.
How catchy is it?
Oh, yeah.
Just like Shiny Happy People from REM. How catchy is that tune?
And that's the thing, REM could go to these catchy songs, to these really deep, introspective songs. And even they included hip-hop on that with the opening song. They used KRS-One on Pop Song 80, Pop Song. Or Radio Song, that was the name of the song, Radio Song. So they really, and that album really sort of was starting the alternative music into the mainstream. Because that was it. REM went into the mainstream and they didn't compromise.
No. And with the not playing electric guitar anymore, and that's just changed the way they kept going forward too.
And they kept getting bigger and bigger. And even I remember reading Kurt Cobain loved REM because of that. They didn't they did it their way all the way. And they just kept getting bigger.
Bigger and bigger, Mr. Big released their album Lean Into It with that one song I know.
Well,
it was a good album, to be honest, but their one song that became #1 in 11 countries was To Be With You.
And that was a thing that was happening in the early 90s too with Mr. Big and Extreme with More Than Words.
More Than Words.
The heavy metal bands all of a sudden started releasing ballads. and the alternative guys were releasing rock songs.
Yeah.
And that's where I think it kind of changed. The heavy metal guys were going down the ballad route. Because in Mr. Big, you have got Paul Gilbert on guitar. Amazing guitar. Billy Sheehan on bass.
One of the greatest.
He's the great. He's one of the greatest. I don't get Flea. It's Billy Sheehan for me.
Yeah, he's still Les Claypool.
Yeah. I got it. Yeah.
You can't really say he's the greatest when you've got Les Claypool next to him.
Oh, you watch Les play.
Those two are just...
I don't know how he sings and plays those rhythms. But mind you, you look at the Police. Some of those bass lines on the Police songs, and Sting was singing them at the same time. And you're like... Wow.
That would have been a 4-string bass most likely, where Les, I think, plays 6 most of the time.
He plays 6s. He plays strings. I think he does 4 on Winona's Big Brown Beaver. It's a 4-string bass. Yep.
Yeah, so...
Keep going.
The great bass players. Temple of the Dog.
Wow.
The history behind that album is just phenomenal. You've got Chris Cornell.
Yep.
Eddie Vedder.
Yep.
You got Jeff Ament.
Yep.
The bass player from Pearl Jam.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Stone Gossard, the guitar player from Pearl Jam.
Now, these guys were in Mother Love Bone before.
They were in Mother Love Bone with Andrew Wood, the lead singer.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Wood used to share a flat with Chris Cornell.
Now we're coming into Seattle, aren't we?
Yeah,
we're coming into wider Seattle. Mother Love Bone were meant to be huge.
They were.
They were meant to be huge. And if you've heard any of their songs, there's a real epic quality to their music. They were literally about to be huge.
Yep. And they were about to release their album, their first album, and Andrew Wood died.
That's right.
Of an overdose, heroin. So they had this album released a few months later, but this Temple of the Dog band was formed because of that. Chris Cornell being Andrew Wood's flatmate and best mate and all that. He decided to do a tribute band album for Andrew Wood. So they created Temple of the Dog, which is actually a lyric from one of the songs from Mother Love Bone.
Okay, right, yeah.
And they got Mike McCready and Eddie Vedder to join them.
Well, Eddie Vedder wasn't a native of Seattle. He was from San Diego.
Yeah. Yeah.
He had heard that there was this band in Seattle looking for a lead singer. And he heard the tape, and he was surfing, and he was coming up with the lyrics. And he just packed his gear, went up to Seattle and said, have a listen to me. And they probably just heard Eddie Vedder sing and just went.
Well, that's the thing. When they were recording Hunger Strike, which was written by Chris Cornell for the Temple of the Dog tribute to Andrew Wood, he kept singing the song, recording it and going, something's missing. I'm not doing this right. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but it's not how I'm hearing it in my head. And then they got Eddie Vedder to sing it, and it worked. And that album, and that's when, basically after that happened, the album was released. Pearl Jam was created because the bass player, the drummer, the other guitar player all joined Eddie and created Pearl Jam. And we all know what happened then. They released 10 the same year.
Yes, exactly right. But it's funny that 10 was this monster record, but the origin of it came from this tribute album to a musician that no one had ever really heard of.
Yeah. And some of those songs on 10 were actually songs written by Mother Love Bone with Andrew Wood that Jeff and Stone had written, reworked, and then put different lyrics over it by Eddie. So a lot of those songs have a bit of an Andrew Wood influence in them. You know,
you can hear it in the first album.
Yeah, 10. Yeah,
yeah. You can hear the Andrew Wood influence because Pearl Jam sound completely different from 10.
Yeah, but if you've got 2 writers from those songs in Pearl Jam, you don't get that, especially for the first album.
Yeah,
you don't get that kind of influence in there. But yeah, definitely amazing album. Hunger Strike is a great song.
Yeah, it's a great song.
Brilliant.
And just the beauty between Eddie Vedder's voice and Chris Cornell's voice. Yeah, it's good because everyone's talking about, as I said, the big albums of this year. But this is, you're looking at what's happening. And as I said, Andrew Wood, no one had heard of him.
No.
So why is this amazing? And everyone had heard of Soundgarden. By this stage, Soundgarden were about to become pretty big.
Yep.
So everyone was asking, why are they doing a tribute album to a guy we've never heard of? I mean, people do tribute songs to musicians they like all the time.
Yeah.
But Temple of the Dog, and people listen. And by this stage, Triple J is the #1, kids station in the country, and they are playing this. And people, I don't know, I heard it and just went, wow.
Yeah.
That's what I've been wanting to listen to. Stuff like this.
Yeah.
It's melodic, it's beautiful, but it's heavy.
Yeah. And speaking of Chris Cornell, Soundgarden brought out an album.
What one was that, Chris?
You tell me.
Bad Motor Finger. Do you like it, Chris?
No.
Why don't you like it, Chris?
I listened to it the other day and I found it really messy, to put it in a word. Especially the first song.
Rusty Cage is awesome.
Nah.
Rusty Cage is awesome.
Nah, it's not.
You wired me awake and hit me with a head of broken nails. What a lyric. I love the guitar.
The lyric may be fine, but I just found it so chopped.
As heavy as the tuning on it and everything. We're going to cover Bad Motorfinger now, aren't we? You don't like it. It's not my favourite Soundgarden record.
No,
I like there's a couple of songs on it I like. I like any Soundgarden record. I don't think any Soundgarden record is absolutely perfect. I think they start really well, and then by the end, no one talks about the last 6 or 7 songs on a Soundgarden record.
If they start really well, and the first song is Rusty Cage, they haven't started very well, in my opinion, because I think it was rubbish.
This podcast is over.
You've said it before.
I have, but I can't.
You've always threatened me.
I always threaten you, but that's half the fun of it, isn't it?
I'll give you a lift home.
Bad Motorfinger. Look, you know what? It's not the greatest record. It is getting recognised because I think it's the one that I think it was Outshined was the single, or was it the I like
No,
Jesus
Outshined I think it's number 2.
That was the
3.
Yeah, and I like Jesus Christ Pose, but you obviously didn't like the guitar and bass. It's there.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Terry Date produced that. He produced Pantera's stuff.
Well, he got better then.
Go to the next record, Chris.
The Tea Party.
Was their first album came out that year?
Yep.
Is it just called The Tea Party?
Yep.
Self-titled. Self-titled, yeah. Probably the Splendor Solace, their second album, was one that probably made them more.
Kind of home, yeah.
We like The Tea Party in Australia. They're a Canadian band, but Jeff Martin from The Tea Party, he lives at Byron Bay. I met him on the airplane one day.
Okay.
He dresses like a rock star. He's a cool dude.
Is he?
He's one of the only few people I met. I worked up to him in the Coolangatta airport, and I said, "Excuse," because I was watching him all the way. He got on the plane with me at Melbourne, and my wife said, "That guy, look at him. He dresses like a rock star." And I went, "Yeah, look at him." And I went, "God, he looks familiar. He looks really familiar." And then I get up to a Coolangatta airport, and I'm like, "Excuse me." And this is only like a couple of years ago. I'm not a kid. Are you Jeff Martin from the Tea? I try to be real quiet because I don't want to. I know it's. And he was like, "Yes, I am." And I went, "Oh, Jeff, can I please get a photo with you?" "You sure can."
He's probably been asked for 10 years.
Yeah, and I took a photo with him, and then I said, "Mate, Tea Party, '97 was one of the best concerts I've ever been to." And he went, "Thank you, brother." And he shook my hand.
Oh, no.
And I thought, "You're a cool dude."
Yeah.
He tours Australia a bit, and he's still, with all the lockdowns, it's amazing we can get a bloody show at the moment.
Yeah,
but
true.
Yeah, he lives at Byron Bay, Canadian band. I love the Tea Party. Can't go wrong.
Anthrax released Attack of the Killer Bees,
Mm-hmm.
which is all B-side stuff. That's why it's called that.
But it had
Bring the Noise.
their duet with Public Enemy, which rocks the house.
Yeah, it's good.
I'd like to do a show on hip hop once.
We can do a show whatever you like.
I'd like to do
Just make
hip
a
hop.
comment.
I've been listening to a lot of hip hop this last week. You're talking about what you're listening to.
Yep.
I've been listening to a lot of hip hop,
Mm-hmm.
Beastie Boys and De La Soul and a bit of Public Enemy.
Yep.
I like the old school stuff. So yeah, but at that stage, Public Enemy are just becoming the rap act.
Yeah.
The hip hop act. It's like there's rock and there's hip hop, but Anthrax were one of the few bands that really sort of, even though we had Walked This Way by this time.
Yep.
Anthrax, like Scott Ian was wearing Public Enemy t-shirts.
Yeah, accepted the hip hop scene.
Yes.
And basically kind of like they had comparisons to heavy metal. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It was good.
Now this is, we are literally, and I got to admit, I could probably tell you I bought most of these records. What about you, Chris? I definitely had I still have Attack of the Killer Bees.
A lot of these ones.
I definitely bought most of these.
Yeah.
Probably not Mr. Big. I didn't buy that one.
I did for that one song, so I learned on guitar back then.
Oh yeah. Because you wanted to impress the
I think
ladies.
it was the other. Pardon?
You wanted to impress the ladies.
No, I just wanted to get better at playing guitar.
No, yeah. See, for Chris, he would learn that song to impress the ladies, where I would learn a Motorhead song. As you can tell.
Obviously, Metallica released their album. I think Osbourne released.
A little band called Metallica released the.
Called
Now we've
Metallica.
talked about this a lot, so we don't need to go into too much. It's 30th anniversary.
Our second
episode
podcast was
all about Metallica. We know about the album. It's selling well. It's still really good. Yeah, it still sounds great. Comes out of the speakers beautifully. Let's go on.
Oh, on that note, before we do finish with Metallica, Miley Cyrus sings Nothing Else Matters.
Do you like it?
I do. Have you heard it?
Yeah, I like it. I think Miley... Right, we're going to talk about Miley Cyrus here. I think Miley's covers are sensational.
I think she's amazing, especially that song she sings from Blondie.
Yeah, Heart of Glass.
Heart of Glass.
She gave it that... Because Blondie started as a punky sort of band. Yeah. And she brought back that punky energy to it. Yeah. I really dug it. Her version of Jolene with Dolly Parton. Yeah. Sensational. Yeah. She's done another cover recently. I'm
not sure, but I know there's nothing else about
I just think Miley Cyrus, I do like her. I just think she could have a really great career reinterpreting other people's songs. You know, God, Frank Sinatra made a career out of it.
Yeah.
You know, Miley Cyrus could really do that because hearing what she does with other people's songs, and she just gives it, there's nothing false about any of it.
And I don't think she can... she doesn't miss like she does the best she can with a song in her own way, but still keeps it real to what the original was, but does it in a way that's, I think in a way, she's like the Susie DiMarchi. Like Susie DiMarchi from Baby Animals could do the same kind of thing. Yeah. Really good, strong rock voice, which suits...
It's all the cigarettes. Oh, honestly. It's all the ciggies, mate.
But yeah, so if you haven't listened to that, there's an album called The Blacklist, which is what Metallica just released as well, which is, I think, 50 artists doing covers of their songs from the Black Album. And a lot of those songs are great, but just that one from Nothing Else Matters, she played it live with Metallica on Howard Stern the other day, and it's just great to hear that. You know, it was so good. So
I just want to say, I mentioned it before, The Chats, band from Sunshine Coast, do Holier Than Thou. Chats, if you've never seen them, get on YouTube, look up Smoko. Have you seen it, Chris?
No.
Look it up.
Okay.
These guys could be huge. Okay. Bunch of punks from the Sunshine Coast.
Are they on the album, aren't they?
Yeah, they do Holier Than Thou. Yeah. It sounds like The Chats too.
Ozzy Osbourne released No More Tears, which is one of my favourite Ozzy albums.
It is one of his
best.
And
the song, No More Tears, is brilliant. Mother, I'm Coming Home is on the album as well, which...
he wrote most of those songs with Lemmy.
Did he?
Yeah, did you know that?
No.
Yeah, because I remember reading an interview and Ozzy said, Lemmy could tell you you're an idiot better than I could. Like he'd say, I said one of the lines is, I spoke to God the other day, he doesn't like you either.
That's classic. There's a bumper too.
That's a t-shirt, isn't it? I spoke to God the other day, he doesn't like you either.
Yeah. Guns N' Roses, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2.
No. We all know about this one. I don't want to go too much. We all know Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. Under Ultimate Classic Rock website has been going through every track on that, track by track, which has been a good listen because there's stories in that. Yep. But you remember the day it came out? We were waiting for that album. They kept putting it off. It's supposed to come out in 1990, remember? The song Civil War came out, and then they kept putting it back. And you just going, is this album? And it was just like, is this album ever going to happen? Yeah. And it was one of the biggest, I reckon when it was opened in Tower Records in LA, people lined up around the block. I remember I went into the record store at Brisbane. I had to rush down at lunchtime because I was working then, and they had the piles of them on the desk. 1 and 2, please. Yeah. Some people were only just buying. They were buying 2 first. That was the first one that sold well because You Could Be Mine, which was the big single, and Civil War on that.
Terminator.
Yeah, until people discovered November Rain. Yeah. And then they just bought Use Your Illusion 1, and that just.
I had those albums. I had the blue Use Your Illusion 2 album before I had Use Your Illusion 1.
And I bought both on the same day.
I got Use Your Illusion 2 a month before they released it in Australia.
Oh.
Because a friend of mine, my cousin, went over to America and got it from there in the big cardboard box with the CD at the bottom. And
they used to do that in America, didn't they? The long box.
He came back and he gave me my LA Gear shoes and my Use Your Illusion 2 blue album. So I had that, I think it would be a couple of weeks before they released it here. And
I remember when I first started listening to it, I was just sat there and went, it's all right.
No, I loved it. And it was funny because...
Civil 2 was better.
I liked 2 because it was the first one I listened to, and I loved Estranged, and I loved all these other songs on there as well.
Locomotives on 2.
Yeah. Breakdown, I think, is a great song. Civil War's brilliant.
Civil War's brilliant.
Mine is good. But my mate who bought it for me from America, he had the yellow one, number 1, Use Your Illusion 1. And he loved that. So we'd argue over it. So we swapped discs.
Number 1's got November Rain on it.
Yeah.
I never hear November Rain again.
Oh, I love it. No. The solo, that's brilliant.
Coma though was on 1, and I just love Coma.
Yeah, that's good.
That's great.
Live and Let Die's on that, which should never be sung again. But anyway,
Yeah.
he loved number one. I loved number two. We used to argue over which one was best, so we swapped discs. And then we got to the point where we both listened. Both albums are brilliant. Both albums have got great songs. Some have, not the best, but it was a great time when those two albums came out.
Well, the reason why I'm going into Guns N' Roses here, because Hard School.
Hard School, yeah.
Guns N' Roses song came out this week.
We did speak a few weeks ago about Absurd.
Yes,
and we didn't
Absurd.
Didn't like it at all. It was a bit rubbishy, but this new one, Hard School. What do you think?
I like it. It sounds like a Guns N' Roses song.
It sounds like a Guns N' Roses song.
And that's the thing about Guns N' Roses is they sound like no one else sounded like them, and still don't.
And it was recorded. It was originally written in '96, Hard School, under the working title Jackie Chan.
That's right.
Because they were asked to do a soundtrack song for a Jackie Chan movie, and Axel apparently is a huge Jackie Chan fan. So they're going to do that. So they wrote Hard School under the top working title of Jackie Chan, and then just before it was released, Slash quit. So
by that stage, Slash was the only original member left with.
No, Slash and Duff was with them back when still with those days. They were still. It was only just after the recording of like they did Use Illusion 1 and 2, and a few years back, it was Duff and Slash.
I was always a Duff fan. Duff was one of the first bass players I listened to that made me go, whoa.
He kind of keeps, to me, he's like the parent.
He has to be.
Just like Kirk Hammett is when things went bad in Metallica. He was like the parent. He was like the one trying to talk to Slash and then, it's okay, it's only Axel. Yeah. Talk to Axel.
Yeah.
I'll fix it.
Probably doesn't work without Duff, does it?
No, I don't think it does.
I don't think it does.
So.
Yeah, it needs Duff, otherwise it doesn't. If it was just Axel and Slash, but Duff to me is the one that, I always say I'm a big Izzy fan, but Duff to me is like a bass player should be, holds it together.
Yeah. And I think, because he didn't play with Guns N' Roses for a long time either, when he started playing with them again, touring, Duff, you could sense then that things really worked out, so Slash would join again. Yeah. And it happened. So maybe it's pretty most likely the case.
Plus, Duff is a punk.
Yeah.
And I'm a punk at heart, and so is Duff, and that's why, he was in the Farts.
Yeah.
In Seattle, so yeah.
Cyrus brought out their first album.
Wretch.
And then, I didn't know Wretch.
No, it was an album that Cyrus never really, they had this thing, they were the stoner rock, sludgy sort of thing.
Yeah.
The next album was probably a bit bigger for them, Blues for the Red Sun.
Yep.
But Cyrus are important because of the whole Josh Homme thing, which is not a good thing now. But Queens of the Stone Age came from
that.
Yeah. What's that one he did with them Crooked Vultures with John Paul Jones and Dave Grohl, you know? So, Queens of the Stone Age came from that whole Caius thing. And Josh Homme was just the guitarist. He wasn't even the lead singer. So,
He became that later on.
Yeah.
For my friends who are listening who love Primus, Sailing the Seas of Cheese.
Les Claypool.
Les Claypool. So that album came out.
I remember when they did the Guitar World, one of those Guitar World polls, the best guitarist, best bass player.
Yep.
You know how they always have a photo of the guitarist holding their axe or doing a face, or doing something. And Les Claypool got bassist of the year or whatever, and it's him playing horseshoes.
That's funny.
No, he's right. A mate of mine met him.
Oh, really?
Met Les Claypool at a Primus gig, he was watching the support act. And he said he never talked to him once about the band, because a mate of mine's into hunting and fishing, and so's Les Claypool.
All right.
So all they talked about is hunting and fishing.
That's funny.
It's funny, isn't it?
That's cool, though.
Yeah.
That's what you're there. So Jerry the Race Car Driver and Tommy the Cat.
Love them.
Those great songs on the album.
Oh, what a good songs.
But yeah, that's...
This is 91. There's more than just those 5 or 6 albums that everyone's talking about. There's this.
Spin Doctors.
Oh, Pocket Full of Kryptonite.
They came out with a song called Two Princes.
And Little Miss Can't Be Wrong. How is that anybody's favourite song? But those 2 songs still get played on the radio.
The band I was in back then, we played Two Princes.
Did you really?
Yeah. It's a really
big,
catchy,
melodic
great song to
pop
play,
song.
melodic, and it played well in pubs. And
obviously you played it, but people sing along to it and jump.
I didn't play it in pubs. I played it in a battle of bands, but people just knew it. It wasn't like a song that would play every set list or anything, but it was fun to play. It was a good song.
They didn't become one of those obscure bands that
Well, are they still around now?
Oh, I think they probably tour.
I have no
somewhere,
idea.
yeah.
But yeah,
But they, you know what I mean? They didn't. What I mean by obscure bands, they're not obscure. They're still played on commercial radio.
Yeah.
Still to this day,
Yeah.
those two songs are probably still making those guys money in some capacity.
Yeah.
They're getting royalty checks every year because of those two songs and that album.
Yeah.
So yeah, keep going.
That's all you need. A couple of songs in your set.
In America, anyway.
Yeah. Pearl Jam, obviously 10. We've already spoken about that. But what a great album that was.
What I want to talk to you about 10. I loved the album when it came out, and I am a Pearl Jam fan. I listened to their last album recently, Gigaton, and it made me re-love Pearl Jam again.
Okay.
Because it made me realize what a really, really good band they are. They're a great American band.
Yeah.
They play rock and roll honestly. There's no crap about them. It's honest rock and roll.
I've never seen them live. Have you?
No, I've just seen videos. But next time they
tour,
tour,
the shows is pretty
3 hours. They do these epic 3 hours.
It's not a big show. It's just them on the stage.
And they change the set list every night, so it's not the same thing.
Yep.
They made a point of doing that. That's why the Pearl Jam fans grab the bootlegs.
Right.
Because different set lists, and they change it up a lot during their show.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. As I said, Springsteen does that. The Stones do it.
Yep.
I was telling you in the car on the way down here, Limp Bizkit even do that.
Oh, wow.
Change their set list about it. But it's funny. Pearl Jam was produced by a man named Rick Parashar. I saw this on one of Rick Beato's videos, and it made me listen to it. He talked about how, because I've seen now you can get the Brendan O'Brien, who went on to produce Pearl Jam's albums after 10. And Brendan O'Brien is he's not exactly a technical producer. A lot of his stuff he puts in the red.
Yep.
But AC/DC use him now, and everyone seems to use because he produces these just honest sounding rock records. Put the levels in the red, he doesn't care.
Yep.
If it sounds it meant to sound loud and in your face a little bit. And because Eddie Vedder said he never liked the sound of 10.
Really?
He said it sounded too commercial. A lot of reverb in it.
Yep.
It sounded too much like a Bon Jovi record for them.
Okay.
They always use that reference.
Yeah.
So they went and they did the remix with Brendan O'Brien, where they just cut out all the reverb.
Right.
And to me, it's a better sounding record.
Really?
Yeah, because it's a more honest record, and it sounds like Pearl Jam.
Okay.
It doesn't have this huge, big producer. For mine, this is only a personal taste, but for mine, it didn't have that huge, produced, polished sound. It just had this really honest, raw rock and roll band sound. And I thought it gave a lot of songs like Black and Jeremy more room to breathe.
I love Jeremy.
Yeah, Jeremy's a great song.
Even played Jeremy Alive.
Yeah,
Jeremy's one of my favourite songs.
Yeah, Black is one of my all-time favourite songs.
Yeah, Oceans is great. If you're in a good mood, if you want to chill out with a song, Oceans is the song to listen to in the background.
I love Release. The last song on the record.
So there we've named them all nearly. That's how good the album.
That's how big that album was.
So
Huge that album
was. Alice Cooper brought out Hey Stupid,
which good track on it, but it was the album that followed Trash, which was huge.
Which one was it with Poison?
Trash.
Yeah, okay. So
Trash was huge.
Yeah, that was really big. This one here wasn't, but it had Slash, Ozzy, and Joe Satriani on it.
Yeah, because it's Alice.
Yeah.
Alice is still producing decent music. He's
still touring. He's touring again now in the States.
Yeah, his last few albums have been really good. There's nothing on the level of his 70s. I mean, I actually still go back and listen to $1 Billion Babies. It's one of my favourite records. Welcome to My Nightmare, one of my favourites. I love a lot of that 70s output. But I've gone, when I went and saw him last year, my daughter is right into Alice Cooper.
Yep.
Mainly because of Nita Strauss.
Yeah.
Alice has always had great musicians in his band. Always. And she loved Nita Strauss, and so she's been listening to a lot of the albums that Nita plays on.
Okay.
Even Alice's album this year, Detroit Stories. Have you heard that? Fantastic. John Five plays on the record.
Oh, wow.
But so does Wayne Kramer from the MC5. It's all Detroit musicians.
Right.
And it's just songs about Detroit, where he grew up. Detroit Stories, terrific. He's still bringing out good music.
Yeah.
Alice
Nita
is still
Strauss
great.
is a great guitar player.
Hey?
Nita Strauss is an awesome
She's
guitar
an awesome
player. And
guitar
she
player.
replaced Aretha.
Yeah, who's awesome.
Who was a great guitar player from Australia. Now
she's with Richie Sambora.
Richie Sambora,
yeah. They still live in Adelaide, I think.
Really?
Yeah, she's from Adelaide, yeah.
Okay, because they were in a guitar centre the other day. They showed a video of them going to a guitar centre in America.
Oh, well, obviously living in Adelaide. Buying guitars.
And playing guitars.
They should have to. Well, she played, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, so yeah. Obviously, Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Well, yeah, look.
Give It Away, Under the Bridge, Stuck My Kiss, and Breaking the Girl were the 4 hits off the album. That's pretty good for an album to have 4 hits, which is pretty good.
4 is good.
Yeah. 4. Most of them don't do that, probably.
Well, that was always the big benchmark. Well, we might talk about that in another episode, because I think there's a thing about 80s records with the amount of singles on them. Because Thriller, we'll mention it in detail, but Thriller set the benchmark with 7. Every song on Thriller, Michael Jackson had that he wanted every song on that album to be a potential single. They had 7 singles off 9 songs off Thriller.
And did they all go to number 1?
No, not only Billie Jean, Beat It, and Thriller went number 1.
Right.
So 3 number 1s.
Yeah.
Bad had 5 number 1s.
Far out.
And when Def Leppard went in to make
Hysteria,
that was the plan. Mutt Lange said, the heavy metal Thriller. 7 singles are off Hysteria.
Wow.
So, there you go. So for 4, that's big.
That's pretty big.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
For a band you don't like.
People like them.
Yeah,
what can I say? I don't want to go too much into it, Yeah. I don't like them, that's it.
Public Enemy.
Apocalypse 91, The Enemy Strikes Black.
You can discuss this because I don't know.
Oh, it starts off... One thing I loved about Public Enemy, I was always liked, apart from the rapping of Chuck D and Flavor Flav, is Terminator X, the DJ sounds that he creates. And the production from a bunch of guys called the Bomb Squad. It's in your face.
Yep.
That album starts off with this drone that just goes on and on through the song. And I'm a fan of sampling and stuff. And there's something about Apocalypse 91. It even includes the version of Bring the Noise. It does include as an extra track.
Yep.
But it's got, by the time I get to Arizona, it's got 911. I know 911 is a joke, was on the one before that. There's so many good songs on Apocalypse 91. Public Enemy were the preeminent rap act in my books. And there's those 3 albums they produced. There was It Takes Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back, Fear of a Black Planet, and Apocalypse 91.
Yep.
Just killer.
Yep.
Just bang, bang, bang. 3 after. I'm a fan. Love Public Enemy. I'll still listen to them when I can, but I love Public Enemy.
Scatterbrain.
Was that 91?
Yep.
I thought that was 1990 when Don't Call Me Dude
Don't Call Me Dude came out.
Okay, I don't remember.
So if you're discussing the top 500 Rolling Stone fun songs, there's number 1.
What about the riffs? There's a song on that called Down with the Ship where it's just all these riffs and you have to try and name the different riffs that they use?
Oh, really? I don't know.
Well, see, they changed the laws with sampling, but they played them. I don't think they sampled them. But everything's just made... Yeah, it's like they talk about love between each line, and there's another riff and all different riffs,
Oh, so Don't Call Me Dude, that was a huge hit.
I know all the words to that.
Ugly
That's
Kid
how
Joe.
stupid that song is.
Ugly Kid Joe came out with their album. Everything About You.
And didn't Cats in the Cradle on that record as well?
Yeah.
They were huge.
Yeah, they were huge. Our band used to play that song.
Hey,
Our band played that song as well.
What?
Everything About You.
Did they?
It was huge.
Well, it didn't become big until the next year, 92, because of Wayne's World.
Oh, yeah.
It was used in Wayne's World, and that's when Ugly Kid Joe became huge. Like, that's what happened. Some albums were a bit of a slow burn, and that one was one. But once again, you don't realise how big Ugly Kid Joe were.
Yeah, they were huge.
They were huge in the early 90s. Yep. It was that whole thing, the alternative, Faith No More, rap sort of thing. Yeah.
Ugly, U2 brought out Uptown Baby.
Wow.
In 91.
My favourite U2 album.
Is it really?
Oh, I think the Joshua Tree everyone likes, but for me it's Uptown Baby.
Oh, there you go.
I love the cold European Germanic thing. The fact they recorded it in Hans's studios where David Bowie made his brilliant Heroes and Low. Had that cold European.
Connection
but then it's got this beautiful one. Some of the most beautiful U2 songs are on this. My favourite, So Cruel. It's one of my favourite U2 ballads.
Yep.
Is on it. Some of my favourite U2 songs are on. And U2 are a band that I've fallen out of love of. They haven't produced a decent song in 20 years, honestly. But Uptown Baby, I will go back to. And I will play it from start to finish. I love Uptown Baby. Yeah, I love it.
Speaking of MJ Dangerous came out.
Dangerous. Massive record. Not as big as his first 2, but still had the singles. Slash played on the album.
Yeah, he did too.
Give In To Me, I think he plays on, and he also played the guitar riff in, not the opening guitar solo bit in Black or White.
Black and White, yeah.
But another big record for Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
You know?
Nothing he could do back then would ever fail.
No.
Just a quick bunch before we finish. Lenny Kravitz brought out Mama Said.
Uh-huh.
So Lenny Kravitz being Lenny Kravitz, how good's that? Roxette brought out Joyride. That was their
They were
second
huge.
album.
Pop. Swedish pop, man.
Alanis Morissette.
Before she got all angry on Jagged Little Pill.
I won't speak about Alanis Morissette right now. Crowded House came out with Woodface.
Big album for Crowded House.
Huge
Many people think it's probably their best record.
Oh, okay.
It's the one Tim Finn was on. It's got my favourite Crowded House song is Distant Sun, which was on the next album, but doesn't Not Weather With You. Fall at Your Feet is on Woodface.
Okay, yep.
How good that song. I get chills thinking. Fall at Your Feet is such a good.
And we didn't mention them the other day in the Australian one because they're not Australian.
They are Australian. They formed in Melbourne.
Depends on who you talk to.
Depends who you talk to.
If you're a Kiwi,
if you're a Kiwi, oh no, you can't.
That's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, Woodface came out, and also one of my favorite albums of all time, Doughboy Hollow by Died Pretty.
Okay.
Oh yeah, got it. Died Pretty, one of my favorite Australian bands of all time, and that is one of my favorite records of all time.
Oh wow.
91.
Yeah.
What a freaking year!
Marky Mark
And the Funky Bunch.
and the Funky Bunch came out with Good Vibration.
Wow.
Dire Straits came out.
And you know what? He's never been able to live that down.
I think he.
Apparently, you get told on a film set you're not allowed to refer to Mark as Marky Mark.
Oh really?
That's how big Good Vibrations was.
Made him a lot of money.
Could have been forgotten about, but no, everyone remembers Good Vibrations.
Yeah. Dire Straits on Every Street.
Oh, yeah, that was the end of the line for them.
Yeah, they didn't really do much after even.
They tried, I think, on that, and I think
finished.
They were out. You even listen to that record, and you're like, they're out of puff.
Yeah,
they're completely out of steam.
They must have realised that, Mark Knopfler, because they haven't really done anything.
He never reformed them. Apparently, they all don't speak. They didn't speak to each other, but he wrote all the songs and. He produced it and all, and so he kind of owned it, I suppose.
Yeah, I think the rest of the band was more so just hired guns.
Yeah, but you sort of, if you're not in the band as a hired gun, you know, they come back with the lawsuit that, well, it's my bass playing that, you know, made that song. You know, he's kind of come back and say, how many bass, you know, anyone can play bass, you know, unless your name is bloody Rob Trujillo or, you know, Duff McKagan. No one's listening to your bass lines. Or Flea, you know.
And Belinda Carlisle come out with Live Your Life Be Free.
You love Belinda Carlisle. Whoever said Chris should never talk about the Spice Girls again, he loves Belinda Carlisle.
Yes, I'm a huge Belinda Carlisle fan. Her album before this one here was Runaway Horses, and I still love it. I listen to it all the time. It's great.
The Go-Go's were cool.
Pardon?
The Go-Go's were cool.
Yeah, I saw them live in New York when they were.
Oh, cool.
Came back and did a bit of a comeback.
You're a Belinda Carlisle fan.
I am.
It's so funny what some of the things you like, hey?
It's funny because I bought one of the very first Sony 5-disc turntables in Tasmania. It was being released in America.
Those things were problematic, weren't they?
And no, it wasn't. It was great. Best thing I've ever bought. And I used to have it in my bedroom, and I had number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 discs. And the first disc I ever bought, compact disc, was that album by Belinda Carlisle, Runaway Horses.
You know what mine was?
And that went in number 1 spot and never came out until I moved over to Queensland.
You know what my first CD I ever bought? It's a compact disc.
Which one?
Appetite for Destruction.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
I win. Incredibility stakes. No. I win.
I used to listen to music at night. I'd put it on and have it on repeat and wake up in the morning and still hear the same 5 discs playing. And it was just a great way to start the day when anything was playing. But if Belinda Carlisle was still playing when I woke up, it was like, nice. Her songs, her melodies and everything on Runaway Horses was brilliant. So, yeah, I could talk about it for hours, days.
What a way to finish the show.
Yeah. Belinda Carlisle.
We started with an album called Fuck.
For Unlawful Kind of Knowledge.
And we ended with Belinda Carlisle. That's the way we go in this show.
It's music's everything.
Thanks for all that research, Chris.
No problems at all.
I was literally going to talk about the big 6, but you have you blew my little mind a little bit.
We're just touching base on things, and when you were talking about the 6, I looked into it, and I'm like,
it's more
there are so many in that year.
Yeah, it was.
I'm sure it was the same with 2 and 3, but because Metallica changed things and Guns N' Roses changed things, that's why they became
and Nirvana
Nirvana.
But Nirvana didn't change things till 92.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. I just remember when the album came out, I heard Smells Like Teen Spirit. It must have been in 91. Yeah. And I just went, what the hell is that? It was one of those songs.
Yeah.
It really did. You knew as soon as you heard it, wow.
Yeah.
And there's not many songs, sometimes you hear and go, well, and even now I don't hear a lot of that, but there was Smells Like Teen Spirit. It was a wow moment. It's like,
I always remember on the Gold Coast, they had a friend of mine said, "You're going to come and watch a band play at Fisho's."
Oh, did you? Were you one of the 10 million that went on the Gold Coast?
I didn't go. I was like, I don't know who Nirvana are, so I'm not going to go watch them. They played Fisho's on the Gold Coast, and I'm like, yeah, I don't care about Nirvana. I don't know who they are.
For those of you that don't know, the Gold Coast is a town of around 500,000 to 600,000 people. It's beautiful on the beach, for those of you who don't know. And it seems that this Nirvana gig at Fisho's in January 99 is legendary because everybody seemed to have gone.
Yeah. It's only a small venue.
It was a tiny venue, but somehow there are 10 to 20,000 people who managed to get into Fisho's to see Nirvana.
Yeah, I never went, but yeah.
It was just one of those gigs,
So we finished on Nirvana instead of Belinda?
Nah, Nirvana. Oh, no, we finished on the two. They both came out in 1991, Chris.
Yeah, true.
All things are equal in the Music Bar podcast.
Oh, good.
That's what we're starting off with.
Subscribe, like.
Please, comment.
All
that sort of stuff. We love to hear. We love to hear from you. And we're glad you keep listening. See you later.
Yeah.